right. This is, wow, this is a great time that we're living in because of the access to knowledge and our ability to actually test it on ourselves. So here we are, episode 13, Heru-Khuti. Alright, this is Heru-Khuti, the ender of all wars. Alright, so how we're going to approach this today, continue the process of going up this tree. In previous episodes, we spoke of the Djedi, okay? And the Djedi is the pillar which represents our very backbone. Everyone has one, okay? Now, it's just a matter of, is everyone going to use it, okay? So, where we are in this particular phase of moving up the Djedi is the fifth principle from the 10th. Okay, we're starting from the bottom, going up 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Okay, we're at the fifth division, and of course, on that pillar, if we were to superimpose the tree of life, we would see that the tree of life, on the left side you have a pillar, on the right side you have a pillar. Okay, left side corresponds to severity. Okay, listen to the word. We're still dealing with words here, and I want to expose how these words are used. Severity, we have to think of severing or cutting. Okay, and that's everything on the left side of the tree is very severe. Hence, you'll see weaponry, blades, spears, things that would actually cut and pierce. Okay, these are severe tools, and this is the associative cognates that we have to keep in mind when we're dealing with moving up the tree of life. Okay, now in some Masonic circles, they have that same type of logic. Now recognize that this is, we're speaking of converted knowledge that has been, as they would say, borrowed. Okay, so they're not going to give it back to you, but you're going to have to awaken it within yourself. Okay, so with that said, there's the left side, which is severe, and the right side, which is benevolent, or there's another word that's commonly used in those circles, and what that signifies is a softer method, a more feminine method. Okay, so the left side being masculine, like the left side of the brain is masculine. It's more about logic at the bottom of the tree, toward the bottom of the tree. It's about getting stuff done. You know, it's your masculine, male, dominant type of ideologies. You know, when you're at the bottom of the tree. Now, as you go up higher on the tree, then things become different. You know, the rules of you know, how things are approached becomes slightly different because of its lofty nature. Okay, and notice the brilliance of our ancestors utilizing symbology. You know, symbols such as the hawk, which is aggressive. You know, that's a masculine trait. It's aggressive, and it is a lofty type of energy. You know, it's one that wants to see, wants to rise to the occasion, if you will. Okay, everything else that we're familiar with on the common level is purely terrestrial. You know, it's mostly dealing with terrestrial animals. Okay, and we're going to cover that in part 2 of this series, and we're going to learn the importance and the difference between astrology and cosmologics. Okay, one has a you know, a very relevant purpose, and the other one has a very malevolent purpose, if you will. So this is why it's been said to stay away from astrology. Okay, So we're going to cover all of this thoroughly. I'm going to show you the math and all of that. So if you're not speaking math, remember episode 12, if you're not speaking math, you're not saying anything. Okay, we got to know the why behind the what of what we're doing. So this is what episode 13 is about. It's about, I'm going to check the numbers. 13. It's about transforming, transformation. So here we are. We're moving into the higher realms. We're actually severing our attachment to our personality for good. Okay, that's what that's all about. Now, a lot of people would be like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen if I sever myself from my personality? Then I won't be able to, be who I am, etc., etc. No, you can be more than you could ever imagine. Okay, you're taking away the limitations of your terrestrial experience, trading it in fact for a heavenly, more divine experience here on earth. Okay, so it gets exciting. Okay, challenging, yes, but more exciting. It's not going to be boring. Okay, so that's one of the questions I'm going to ask is what makes a sahu a sahu? What makes a child or a minor a minor? Okay, it's really about being addicted to sensation or being overly reliant on sensationalism to make you feel happy. Okay, so that's how you know. All right, the less you're dependent on entertainment, the less you're dependent on stimulants. Okay, the more you have control of where your destiny is going to be, how happy you're projecting yourself to be. Okay, so yeah, this is how we're going to do it. So like always, we want to start from the bottom and actually work our way up to the top, and we're going to find out who and what is Heru-Khuti. So what and who is Heru-Khuti? Okay, first off, it's not a cartoon. Okay, I had a person who was following me who actually befriended me for a measure of time, and this friend began to deteriorate the relationship in terms of being cordial, and started attacking me, saying, well, this is nothing more than another set of cartoon characters supporting a religious dogma. But in order for you to see and to recognize intelligibly what a force is, you have to be able to use symbols that simplify concepts. Okay, and so that's what this is. Now say, let's go forward then and see what this concept is of Heru-Khuti. Okay, so Heru-Khuti actually is a force in nature that is represented by heat. It's extreme heat. Okay, so when we think of Heru, we know that's fire and that's heat. But when Heru wants to move to the next level and clear out some things, it goes into its higher form. Okay, that's his spiritual form, and then he takes on an extreme nature, and it severs and cuts itself from its identity. Okay, as an earth being, as a being that has attachments to his lower nature. Okay, so when Heru-Khuti expresses itself, it's actually coming from a point, psychological point of view, of upholding the higher principles in nature, high principles such as natural law, such as natural order, okay, and structure, of wisdom, divine wisdom, and of universal integrity, aka unity. Okay, so its goal is to become unified with everything. Okay, and so its identity is shifted from its lower nature to its highest nature. So where do we find Heru-Khuti in our mythological and religious lore? Okay, so since we have a broad base of Christian viewership, we see this in the story of Jesus, where he uses brutal force to flip these tables and go after the merchants in the temple. Okay, that's really what Heru-Khuti is about. It's like, hey, you guys are gonna have to clear out of here, because what you're doing is serving the lower aspects. Money. Okay, there's that green symbol. See, we use symbols for a reason, because we can't just zoom you into a place, and into an event like on the spot. So we have to draw it. All right. So far from a cartoon, but these symbols simplify concepts that are very real, and they're found at every level of life and living. Okay. So yeah, those merchants, they're they're the lower aspects of our attachments, that Heru moves its identity into higher realms so that it can use extreme heat to clear it out. So we find it in nature as explosions. Okay, explosions. We know dynamite is used to clear out mountains. Okay, the extreme use of force. All right, at a smaller level, we see it, and we'll see in the whole process of going from the bottom to the top. We'll see the process, the psychic heat and the cellular heat for immunity. Okay, so those are ways that we see it in nature. Let's see. So in our lore, we see also Heru-Khuti as Mars. Okay, and this is actually what the force, the martial force, that we recognize in martial arts. Okay, Mars is the god of war. Okay, and so these symbols, they permeate throughout history and time, and we see that enacted in everything. Okay, so even in NASA's cosmology, where you have these ball planets, terrestrial planets, they say Mars is hot, and they paint it red and so forth, and we know that there are no such things as balls floating in the air where you can go out and land stuff on. So, but that's a whole nother topic. We may be able to cover that when I do my next revision of this tree of life. But here now, what we're doing is going through some of the principles, showing you all of the details, so that we can eventually put these principles to work for ourselves. Okay, that's the real reason for the raising of the Djedi series, is to make sure that we're able to enact the principles, intone the principles, become the principles. Okay, at will, on demand. Okay, because we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of chaos that has been produced by the ignorance. Okay, everything that's below Heru is considered to be ignorant, because it ignores the higher realms. It's not able to see, and when it's introduced, the knee-jerk tendency of a Sahu would be to look the other way, because it just can't get it. It just can't hear it, because it is busy doing what is familiar to itself. It works in their opinion. The Sahu opinion, whatever they're doing is working. So why do I need to hear that? You're messing with the program. You see. So that's what Heru-Khuti is about. So the highest use for this force is the protection of itself from the lower faculties that or the lower aspects, which are the lower faculties, preventing the resurrection of Osir. Okay, your highest principle, and it has to act swiftly, and it has to act decisively on these minor principles, the negative minor principles, in order to achieve true spiritual growth. So hopefully this is something that's able to um, get some context, and help us to continue on up the tree without leaving anything behind, because I know the videos, there are quite a few to go through, but we're gonna move forward and get on up this tree here. All right, thanks. All right, so let's move from the Sebek aspect to the Het Heru. Now we remember the principle of Het Heru is more of a right brain function that deals with imagery, and that deals with desires and beauty. And so when we look at Heru-Khuti, the force of Heru-Khuti, and its faculty of Het Heru, the two combined creates an extreme type of nature, which can be shown as energetic, energetic action, or energetic, hyper energetic passions. All right, so there's extremely high libido. All right, and then there's the fertile imagination is exponentially raised, and so there's imagery, that are of an extreme nature. All right, and then there's the ability to initiate all of these qualities in whatever encounters in life that that energy would find itself in, or establish itself in. See, we're talking Heru-Khuti, the martial force. So it just doesn't passively happen. It's actually forcefully put there. Okay, so we're looking at on the positive side, there's energetic action, there's high libido, there's fertile imagination, and successful coordination of events due to the effects of the right hemisphere. It's able to see imagery or pictures of the whole event. Okay, all right. So as far as the negative side goes, we're looking at illusory type of things. Where this is where the errors of Het Heru come into play. There's carelessness, and remember, Heru-Khuti is forceful, extreme, and it's very heightened. It's a very heightened heat. Okay, so addicted to sensory pleasure is insatiable. All right, that's what it does. It creates an insatiability. This is where Heru-Khuti has to use its lance and spears and knives to cut away at that lower nature in order to rise up the tree. Okay, so we have to get these cognates and know where to put them in our spirit, so that we can act as we need to when the situation presents itself. Then we can forcefully remove those obstacles out of our way and continue on up, okay, into our next phase of nature, which is the fiery nature, which is the initiative nature, that's going to uphold those higher principles, that's determined to keep focus. See, that's what Heru is. Keep focus. And this is the double focus right here on moving on up to its true identity. All right, we'll continue moving up. So here we are. Heru-Khuti is the next phase of Heru. Okay, it's when Heru has made the determination, the willful determination, and you can see here I have tattooed on the chest of Heru-Khuti. It is willfully enlightened. Okay, so despite the difficulties that Heru experienced on his quest to overcome Set, okay, and that Set is the satanic tendencies that want to pull you down from your ascent into your next unfoldment. Okay, so this is what we say he because it's a masculine principle, but women, females actually embody this. They're the first to embody this. This is how you have the protective nature, and that's what Heru-Khuti is about. It's very protective. Okay, has the faculties of being able to have immunity on the physical level. Let's look at some of the immunity that happens physically in the physiology. You have cellular immunity, and that shows up in the white blood cells and in the cells in general when fighting off pathogens, when fighting off bacterium infections, and when fighting off viral infections. You have heat that's produced in order to purge the environment, the internal environment of pathologies or pathogens. Okay. Now there's the psychic immunity that goes with Heru-Khuti in the earth, in the physicality, in the being. There's a psychic immunity, and that's represented by the serpent that normally projects from the left side. And there is a meditation technique where you're cleansing what's called the nadis. Okay, that's the neural, the oxygen or neural connections that are here within the forehead. When you breathe through one nostril, in particular the left nostril, that corresponds to that psychic center known as Wachet. Okay, and too much of anything, you're gonna have to watch it, right? See, words, man, they're ancient, but they're modern. Okay, we use the modern version, but they still connect. So that's your fiery center that actually grants you immunity. Is the one that lashes out. Say, like when you're in anger, you could give a stare, and that would be the one that's coming at you. It's Wachet. Okay, that's your immunity. Okay, so Nirmani Nadachudi is the one where you're cleansing the nadis, or the psychic centers. All right, going up the tree, we have Auset, who, when in the context of Heru-Khuti, when demonstrating it in the highest realms of that frequency, the person is devoted and is very zealous, willing to do hard work courageously and sacrificially, in particular when we think of children, and whenever there's some type of community endeavor or drive, that aspect is a feminine aspect that is very devoted, that is passionately devoted, and that's what Heru-Khuti is about. Passion, extreme passion. Okay, now on the negative end of that, okay, with that passion being over, or out of balance, that's what the negative symbol is about. The person is excitable. The person has moodiness, indecisiveness, and is very impulsive in, okay, what I got to do next. that type of thing is very hasty in movements. So, but it's supposed to be the one that, that nurtures and makes sure that all things are taken care of. Okay, that's at that level. Now, moving higher up, how Heru-Khuti expresses its nature is very motivated and resolute. Okay, it's made up its mind. It's not going back. Once it goes, there's no turning back. Okay, and that would be when talking about the faculties, the mental faculties. It would be expressed as being skillful and solving difficult, complex issues of extreme detail. That would be in occupations or careers that involve litigation, scientific inquiry, championing worthy causes through the media outlets and communication. Okay, so we see that, this is what we're going to have to do in this brave new world now. If you're going to be an influencer, or if you're in the sway of influencers, make sure that the influence is of a worthy cause. Okay, and what's more worthy than truth? Okay, what's more worthy than having something that's going to elevate your consciousness such that you're able to discern what is correct and what is out of balance. That duality that we say is right and wrong. Okay, so when we think of, here's something that's very interesting. When we think of a right way of doing things, there's often a preference that's attached when we're doing things the right way. Okay, so for example, is there a right way to rob a bank? Okay, is there a good way to do it? You see what I'm saying? The paradox that exists there is very preferential, because first of all, robbing a bank, or doing anything that's of an immoral type of nature, that's detrimental to begin with. So being right, being wrong, those are preferential things that we can apply to those things that are very immoral. And for example, you could be in a job and they say, well, we want to be right about this, we want to be right about that, but when are you going to be correct about certain things? Is your business model correct, relative to the law of nature? So it's these types of things that we get to tackle when we get into the Heru-Khuti. Heru-Khuti is about, being one with source. Okay, being unified, and it's willing to do what it takes swiftly. It's willing to go up the tree to get the wisdom so that it can execute quickly, swiftly. Okay, we have to awaken that in ourselves. All right, going up this tree, we have Heru, which is at the heart, of the matter. Okay, that was episode 12. Here we are, episode 13, watching Heru-Khuti, exhibit Heru, which is capable of hard work. Okay, Heru-Khuti is capable of hard work and powerful leadership, because that's what Heru is the leader. It's the man's man. Okay, but when you get here, Heru-Khuti is the warrior's warrior. Okay, when it's time to turn up the heat, all men that are becoming warriors, you're going to look to this principle. Okay, because this principle will always uphold law, always consult with the higher order in order to be successful, and it never loses. That's the principle of it. It never loses because of its access to the higher laws and submission to that. Okay, so magnanimity is a quality where if it sees something that's weaker than itself, it's not going to exploit it. Okay, it's going to put, if it's in the wrong, it's going to put it in check, put it in its place. Okay, that's where it's going to be. Okay, it's not going to abuse its authority or its position of power. It's the leader who fights along her or his warriors. Okay, the one that says, "Hey, I'm with you. Let's go." Okay, and it doesn't care about hiding in the background and directing it. Okay, you go. That's Heru. Okay, but Heru with Heru-Khuti. Let's go. Okay, he is gonna direct it. She's gonna direct the show. It's like a Harriet Tubman. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. All right, so on the negative side, okay, on the imbalanced side of Heru-Khuti, as you know, utilizing the Heru faculty, it would show up as arrogance and dictatorialness. Okay, hastiness, rashness, all these things. It would be like an army without a leader. Okay, it's mob violence. You know, these are some of the things that it shows up as a group. It's like a mob violence. Nobody's leading. Everybody's about, you know, let's go get them. Impetuousness, you know. So yeah, this is what that's about. So we're gonna continue to move up and see what Heru-Khuti is about. Double Heru-Khuti is successful through hard work. Okay, those hard workers that you see lean and mean, they don't have fat hanging off of them. They're just so used to doing the work, you know, getting it done physically, getting it done mentally. They're not about long, protracted types of, you know, work, you know, drudgery. They're about getting in, getting it, getting done, getting out. Okay, that's what that's about. This is the entrepreneur. This is where the entrepreneur has you know, has that flair about itself. Okay, all right. Let's see. This is the source of divine assistance to overcome obstructions. Okay, Heru-Khuti overcomes obstructions. Now, here's the key right here. With this principle, if you're going to invoke it, okay, invoking Heru-Khuti using the words of power, using the various modalities found in fragrances and so forth, you will actually get the frequency that will invite obstacles. Now, if you're not living the Ankh in Ma'at of truth, right here where law is, if you're not living that, those obstacles will become so insurmountable to you, okay, that it's like, oh my goodness, what have I done? Okay, so when you're invoking the frequency, which is yours, when you're invoking that frequency to embody you, you have to definitely make sure that you are correct in whatever endeavor you're doing, and you maintain the correctness, okay, throughout that endeavor. Okay, that's key right there. Okay, it will definitely be a big mistake if you are not correct. Okay, all right. So not being correct results in accidents. Okay, it shows up as arrogance. I mean, the highest arrogance that you know is the flinging of things that causes accidents, not only to yourself but to others. All right. Some of the accidents that are common, that happen with the invocation of Heru-Khuti is fire. It shows up in weaponry. Okay, it could be guns, it could be spears, it could be knives, you know, sharp instruments, and it doesn't have to necessarily be weapons per se. It can be something that's used, you know, totally unrelated, but you find yourself encountering that type of object that would serve, you know, just as well as being a weapon. Okay, so we have to be careful. Accidents only happen when you're out of balance. Okay, not watching the balance of law. All right. So as Heru-Khuti, when it invokes law, okay, is the enforcer of it. Okay, it is the assigned principle of enforcement. Okay, we can find this in in the martial arts masters. They know this principle very well. Okay, all right. So here's some of the qualities of Heru-Khuti when it is in enforcing law. It's able to see the whole. Okay, that way there's no bias. Okay, it's able to see the whole and to dispense justly the use of martial force. Okay, some things you just have to clear out the way. Okay, that's martial force. You're using martial force to prevent or correct wrongs. Okay, that's the imbalance. Okay, if you're not correct to begin with, you may say, well, this is for the right thing. I'm doing it for the right thing, but hey, if it's out of balance, it's gonna be corrected because it sees the whole thing. Okay, so some of the wrongs could be, greed. You gotta correct that. Not sharing, hastiness, libertarian, imbalance, violence. You don't want to invoke this frequency if you're going to perpetuate violence. You invoke this one to end violence, to end all of these things, libertarianism and so forth. If you're familiar with what that is, okay, it's really about a mindset of people saying, well, hey, this is the economic market. Let it run its course, and see what happens. It's in essence saying, well, let the ignorant people do what they do, so that we can gain profits and stuff like that. But that's unlawful. All right. So, all right, moving up higher into the Shechem division. This is where sectored is when Heru-Khuti is very severe about becoming one or one with law or one with source rather. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can show that. One with source. Here we go. All right. One with source is really about taking consideration of the divine structure. Okay, and how when and this is like putting something that is very severe and fast acting. It has to be the other aspect of this frequency is really about being determined. Okay, that's the best word we can use, determination, because this faculty is not necessarily about activity per se, movement, but rather this is about stillness. Okay, it's about knowing structure. It's about understanding timing. Okay, and we know timing. When it's time to move, you're gonna do what you gotta do in the proper time, and that's what that's about. Okay, so it's planned discipline. It's organized planned discipline is what Heru-Khuti is actually employing. Okay, if the situation demands for Heru-Khuti to stop on a dime or to be still, because it's ultimately important to be still, in the proper time, then Heru-Khuti is determined to be still, but ready to move when the time demands. Okay, that's what that's about. Okay, so on the negative side, where there is no planning, there's failure. Okay, where there is no discipline, there's failure. Where there is no organization or understanding or even acceptance or respect of the structure, the divine structure of the cosmic order, there's failure. Okay, great obstructions. They're the highest obstructions you can encounter. It could, if you're out of balance, being or making the error of not following this principle could result in many years or incarnations of, of detriment. So that's what that's about. This actually corresponds to death, and dying to various things, dying to the ways of the world. Okay, this would be the worldly, activity, so, you have different stages of worldly activity. You have the administrative stages, and you have the execution of it, the actual activity itself, for activity's sake. Okay, so we can move on into wisdom, which is the second principle of the tree of life, and it is when Heru-Khuti is coming under the guidance of wisdom, it's able to use it's using the force, or using the force under the guidance of wisdom. Okay, so wisdom is and Tehuti is in the Kahu division. So we have a triad here. You have the Ba, the Kahu, and the Shechem divisions of the spirit. And so when you're in the Kahu, okay, remember Heru is the main principle, but when Heru-Khuti, T is the most high. So his name, when he's Heru-Khuti, would translate into Heru of the highest wisdom. If you were to try to link words to it, that's what it would equate to. When you're moving up the tree, you have Heru in the center here, and then once it decides, hey, enough of this, enough of this winning sometimes, losing sometimes. I want to win all the time by becoming one, becoming unified, so that I can end all the battles, end all of the war activity that goes on into my lower spirit, okay, and actually tempts the higher, aspect of my spirit, okay. The kingly nature is always pulling at it. It says, forget about it. I want to sever myself from that forever, and I want to study the ways of heaven. I want to become organized according to the divine plan. Okay, I want to become wise, to know everything that I need to know. Okay, and then I want to become one with all of it. Okay, that's the destination. Okay, that's it within the manifested realm, okay, that we call Earth. Okay, and then finally you go above the tree itself into the perfect black, which is our true unconditioned nature. Okay, so this is how Heru-Khuti ends all wars, and we're going to take a brief break, and I'm going to be bringing in some of the things I wanted to cover regarding the difference between cosmologics and astrology, and the why behind the what of it, of that. Okay, so thank you again for tuning in. We're going to go into part 2 real quick. All right, I'm going to take a break right now.